At Thanksgiving, my sister raised her glass and said, "The best gift? You disappearing." I smiled. My dad added, "Your money made this happen, not you." I cleared the plates, left the spare key, and drove off. Next morning, I paused the card covering their bills. A week later, my brother texted, "Where are you?" I replied, "My name's Ethan. I'm 32. I'm the oldest sibling, the planner, the fixer, the one who picks up the phone when things go wrong and wires money before anyone can ask twice. I work in software development, but in my family, I'm better known as the rich one." They don't say it with admiration. They say it like it's a character flaw, like success makes me suspicious. Growing up, I was the quiet one, the one who didn't complain when my younger sister Olivia threw tantrums and got her way, the one who picked up our brother Tyler from school when our parents forgot, the one who kept his head down, got good grades, and worked part-time jobs so I wouldn't be a burden. They praised me for being low maintenance. What they meant was easy to ignore, but I thought things would change as we got older. That maybe, after all those years of being the responsible one, I'd finally earned a seat at the table, not just physically but emotionally. Then came Thanksgiving. It was at my parents' house, like always, the house I helped them refinance when they were drowning in debt, the house where I'd fixed the roof, paid for the new appliances, and quietly covered the property tax bill last spring without saying a word. Dinner was fine at first. Turkey, wine, polite conversation. I had just refilled everyone's glasses when Olivia stood up. "I want to make a toast," she said, a little too loud. She wore that grin she always wears when she's about to say something awful and act like it's a joke. She raised her glass. "To family," she said. "And to the best gift of the year." She paused, eyes locked on mine. "You disappearing." Silence. Then nervous laughter. My mom tensed. My dad let out a grunt that might have been a chuckle. I felt my heart drop, but I didn't flinch. I just smiled, reflexively, automatically, like my body had learned how to protect itself with politeness. And then Dad leaned back, swirling his wine. "She's not wrong," he added casually. "This dinner, this house, none of it would have happened without your money. But let's be honest, it wasn't you who made it happen. It was just your money." I sat there, gripping my glass, every nerve in my body buzzing. No one said anything. Not my mom, not Tyler. They just looked down at their plates like maybe, if they didn't move, it would all go away. I stood up. No words. No drama. I gathered the plates and walked them to the sink. I washed every dish. I folded the dish towel. I set the spare house key on the counter next to the pie I brought. And then I walked out into the November cold, coat unbuttoned, hands shaking. Not from anger, but clarity. Something had broken. And this time I wasn't going to glue it back together. I didn't become the family ATM overnight. Started small, subtle. The kind of things you do because that's what family does. I was 22, fresh out of college, eating ramen in a basement apartment, when my dad called me in a panic. "The car broke down. Olivia needs it for her job. Can you help?" She didn't have a job. She had an unpaid internship at a lifestyle blog where her biggest task was choosing Instagram filters. But I wired $400 anyway. The next time it was Tyler. "His tuition's late. Your mom's worried sick. Just cover it this once." Tyler had flunked 2 semesters already, but I transferred $3,200 without blinking. I told myself, it's just temporary. Once they're on their feet, things will change. They never did. Instead, I became the emergency fund, the safety net, the invisible infrastructure holding everything together, until they stopped pretending it was temporary at all. When I got my first big promotion at 25, Olivia posted about it on Facebook like it was hers. "My brother just made 6 figures. Drinks on him forever." People thought it was cute. She meant it literally. That year, she moved into a luxury apartment downtown and listed me as her guarantor without asking. I found out when a collections notice arrived at my address 6 months later. I confronted her. "You used my name?" She blinked, like I was the crazy one. "Relax. You have great credit. I needed a backup plan. It's not like I ever missed rent." But she had. 3 months' worth. I paid it, quietly, to protect my score. I didn't tell anyone. Not even when she started forwarding her phone bill to me every month with a thumbs-up emoji. It wasn't just her. My parents, who'd once called me self-sufficient with pride, started treating my paycheck like family property. They'd invite me over for dinner, then casually mention the water heater was acting up. or that the lawn care guy had raised his prices, or that their internet got shut off again. Not because we can't afford it, my mom would add, just a billing mix-up. I pull out my phone, open the app, pay it. It became muscle memory, like breathing. And Tyler? He never even made the effort. He once sent me a Venmo request that just said, "Whoa, it was for $600. When I didn't respond, he texted, "What's your problem, man? You're rich. Help your brother out." That line hit something raw in me, because no matter how much I gave, the story was always the same. I was the selfish one, the cold one, the one who owed them everything, and they loved reminding me. One Christmas, I brought my girlfriend, Mia, home. First real relationship I'd had in years. I thought maybe, just maybe, having her there would shift the energy. Show them I wasn't just a bank account in a dress shirt. Instead, Olivia pulled her aside in the kitchen and whispered, "He always dates out of guilt. You know that, right?" Tyler laughed when I confronted him about it. "She's not wrong," he said. "You act like buying people off makes you lovable." Mia was gone 2 weeks later. Said I carried too much family weight. She wasn't wrong. But the moment that really cracked me, the one I never talk about, happened last spring. I had just finished covering the final $11,000 of my parents' home equity loan. They were months behind and on the verge of losing the house. I didn't even hesitate. And then, not even a month later, I found out they'd taken a cruise. A cruise. 7 nights in the Caribbean. My mom sent photos of poolside cocktails with the caption, "So good to finally relax. No thank you. No acknowledgement. Just margaritas and hashtags." I asked my dad about it. "You needed the money for the house. What changed?" He just said, "Well, since you took care of that, we figured we deserved a break." My stomach twisted. That night, I checked my credit report. Tyler had opened a store card in my name. Olivia had listed me as her emergency contact for a $15,000 medical loan. Again, without telling me. And I still said nothing. Because I was raised to believe that silence equals love. That giving without complaint is loyalty. That holding the family together, even if it broke you, was a duty. But something had shifted in me long before Thanksgiving. It wasn't just the exhaustion. It was the realization that I was living in a one-sided contract. A blood-bound, gaslit, debt-ridden trap dressed up as family. And I was starting to itch for a way out. The thing about pretending everything's fine is that eventually, your silence starts to rot. From the inside. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, I wasn't just tired. I was brittle. One wrong word and I would have shattered. Spoiler, it didn't take long. You already know what Olivia said. The toast, the grin, the dig. The best gift? You disappearing. For a moment, I wondered if she truly believed that, or if it was just her way of hiding her own bitterness. You already know what Dad added. Your money made this happen, not you. Hearing that, I realized they didn't even see me anymore. Just the things I provided. But what I didn't tell you is what happened after. After I left their house that night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my car in the driveway, headlights off, engine idling, just unraveling. Years of holding my tongue, of being the provider, the peacemaker, the repairman, the silent donor. It all came loose. And for once, I didn't feel guilty. I felt done. The next day, I started pulling receipts. Literally. I opened my expense tracker and sorted every family payment for the last 3 years. Mortgage payments, utility bills, rent bailouts, grocery deliveries, streaming services, credit card transfers, phone plans, gift cards, emergency flights, one last-minute dental procedure that turned out to be Botox. Total, $141,220. I took screenshots, dozens of them. Then I sat down and drafted a message. Subject, since we're being honest. I sent it to the family group chat. Hi all. Since Thanksgiving was such a candid affair, I figured I'd return the favor. Then I attached the screenshots. Every one. Labeled by name. Olivia's rent, 8 months. Tyler's failed LLC, $7,000. Mom's Macy's card, paid in full. Dad's car repairs, utilities, cruise cover-up. At the bottom, I wrote, "You say my money made this family possible. You're right. But here's what you forgot. That money came from me. And starting today, it stops. Then I turned off my phone. I didn't need to read the fallout to know it would come. But when I turned it back on 6 hours later, it was worse than I expected. Tyler text, dude, what even is this? Olivia, you are so cruel, revealing us like that. Mom, call me. Now. Dad, you think you're better than us? You think you've outgrown us? Don't forget where you came from. There it was. The trifecta. Control. Pressure. Disrespect. So I waited, because I knew what would come next. And like clockwork, the group call came in Sunday night. I let it ring out, then watched as Olivia FaceTimed me solo. I picked up, not because I wanted to, but because I was ready. Her face was red, furious. You blindsided us. You could have just talked to us like a grown-up. I laughed, quietly. I've been talking to you for a decade. You only hear me when I pay for things. She scoffed. So what, you're just gonna ghost us? Let Mom and Dad suffer? You know Dad's health isn't great. You want that on your conscience. And there it was, the guilt. The exact weapon they'd always used. But I didn't flinch. Dad's health didn't stop him from taking that cruise while telling me the house was in crisis. She froze. I leaned in. You want honesty? Here's some. I was never family to you. I was funding. Then I hung up. The next morning, Tyler sent me one last message. You're just mad because you're alone. I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because the difference between being alone and being used is this. When you're alone, at least it's quiet. The Monday after Thanksgiving was the first morning in years that I woke up and didn't check my bank app for low balance alerts. Not my own, there were no missed calls from my mom about a bounced electric bill. No texts from Tyler asking for just $50 to hold him over. No Venmo requests labeled with crying emojis. Just silence. And God, it was beautiful. I went for a walk, coffee in hand. No calls, no chaos. Just my own footsteps echoing down the sidewalk like a slow, steady drumbeat of freedom. But of course, it didn't last. Day 3 post-exit. The phone calls started. First Mom, then Olivia, then Mom again. I didn't answer. Day 4. My Aunt Carol, who hadn't spoken to me since I forgot to bring wine to her birthday party in 2018, sent me a voice note. We're really worried. You don't just abandon your family like this. Your father's been coughing again. Olivia says you've been cruel. This isn't like you. Except it was. This was like me, the version of me they never met because they were too busy cashing checks. Day 5, Tyler posted on Facebook. A status, no names, just venom. Some people think money makes them better than blood. It doesn't. It just makes them colder. Hashtag family betrayal. His girlfriend liked the post. So did Olivia. My mom commented 3 broken heart emojis. It went viral in our family circle at least. Cousins I hadn't seen in years sent me texts. Some vague. Some pointed. What's going on? Did you really cut them off? Olivia says you're having a breakdown. That one made me laugh. Out loud. Alone in my apartment. A breakdown? No. I was finally rebuilding. That weekend, I packed a bag, turned off my phone, and drove to a cabin upstate. A friend of mine had offered it months ago, said I needed space. I'd laughed then, said, I'm fine. I wasn't. But now, I was finally breathing air that didn't feel borrowed. 3 days of quiet. 3 days of no guilt. 3 days of waking up and realizing. They trained me to mistake exhaustion for duty. On the 4th day, I turned my phone back on. 98 messages. 17 voicemails. A new one from Dad. You're embarrassing yourself. Your mother's crying every night. One from Olivia. You win. Okay? You broke us. Congrats. And then the text that made me sit down. Tyler. Mom says the mortgage bounced. What are we supposed to do? No venom. No sarcasm. Just panic. And suddenly I saw it. The cracks. They weren't just losing me. They were losing the foundation they'd been standing on. Because here's the truth they'd never admit. I wasn't the burden. I was the structure. And now that I was gone, everything they'd built on my back was collapsing. The next week was a slow unraveling. Mom called from a new number. Left a voicemail saying she didn't understand how I could just watch them struggle. I didn't respond. Olivia emailed me a screenshot of an overdue credit card bill. The subject line was, "Are you really going to let this happen?" Yes. Yes, I was. Because for once, I wasn't going to set myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. And then came the message that hit different. From Olivia. "Tyler's been talking to a lawyer. Says you can't just cut off support like that. That's financial pressure." I stared at that one for a while. Then I forwarded it to my actual lawyer. He replied in 5 words. "Let them try. I'm ready." And that was it. No more fear. No more second guessing. Just steel in my spine where guilt used to be. A few days later, I got coffee with someone from work. A woman in HR I'd always admired from afar. Smart, grounded, warm. She said, "You look lighter." I smiled. And I did. I really did. That night I made a new budget. One with just my name on it. No family plans. No emergency lines. Just books, food, travel, savings, life. For me. The next morning I deleted the family group chat. Not out of spite. Out of peace. And maybe that's what shocked them most. That I didn't storm out in rage. I just walked out. And locked the door behind me. I thought closure would feel like forgiveness. It doesn't. It feels like clarity. The kind that slaps you awake at 3 a.m. when your phone lights up with a message you don't need to read. Because you already know what it says. "We're still family." That's what Olivia wrote. After weeks of silence. After the threats, the guilt, the spin campaigns on social media. She sent it at 2:47 a.m. with a smiley face at the end. Like everything was fine. Like we could hit undo. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Sometimes family doesn't fall apart, it fades over time. Quietly. Over time. While everyone keeps smiling and saying, "We're fine." And when you finally leave, they don't miss you. They miss what you did for them. They miss the utility. The function. The wallet. Not the person. After I deleted the group chat, things stayed quiet. For a while. Then my dad showed up at my apartment. Unannounced. I hadn't given him the address. But he knew people. Still had friends from my old neighborhood. Still knew how to find things when he needed to. I opened the door. He looked smaller. Not physically. Just reduced. Like something inside him had cracked and shriveled. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside. We sat across from each other. The air between us stretched so tight I could hear my own pulse. He didn't touch the coffee I made. Just stared at the floor. "You made your point," he said finally. "Everyone's feeling it. Your mother cries every day." I didn't answer, because I knew what was coming next. "Look, I know we leaned on you. Maybe too much. But you're successful. We thought you could handle it. We thought you wanted to help." "I did," I said. "Until it stopped feeling like help and started feeling like robbery." He flinched, but didn't argue. "You embarrassed us," he said. "That group chat. Those screenshots." "No," I corrected. "I documented. You embarrassed yourselves." His eyes flashed. For a second I saw the old man I grew up with. The one who could shut me down with a look. But it didn't land this time. He wasn't standing in our kitchen. I wasn't 12. He sighed. "So what now? You're just done with us?" I stood. Calm. "No. I'm done being your accountant, your backup plan, your punching bag, your scapegoat, your fixer. I'm done being anything that isn't me." He stared at me for a long time, then got up. "You know," he said quietly, "you used to be the good one." I opened the door. "I still am. You just don't like what that means anymore." He didn't say goodbye. I didn't need him to. Weeks passed. Christmas came. No invite. No card. Just a post on Olivia's Instagram. The 3 of them at some rented cabin, mugs in hand, smiles painted on like everything was perfect. I didn't feel sad. I felt nothing. And then New Year's Eve. I hosted a few friends. Nothing fancy. Just wine, music, laughter. Somewhere after midnight, my friend Jess raised her glass and said, "To Ethan, for finally choosing himself." Everyone clinked glasses. I didn't cry, but something loosened in me. I realized that for the first time in decades, I'd built a room full of people who didn't need anything from me. Except me. 3 months later, I got an email from Olivia. PDF attachment. It was a spreadsheet. All the money she claimed she'd pay me back for someday. Every transaction, line by line. Rent, Uber rides, plane tickets, even brunches. At the bottom, $28, 345.72, sorry. No explanation. Just that one word, sorry. It wasn't a real apology. It was insurance. Something she could point to if someone ever asked, "Did you ever say sorry?" I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my accountant. Let them deal with it. Because Olivia doesn't get to clear her conscience with one spreadsheet. She doesn't get access to me just because she finally did math. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about removal, extraction, surgical and permanent. It's about burning the blueprint they gave me, the one where I'm always the savior, the provider, the doormat, and building a new one where I'm just me. No roles, no expectations, no guilt. A few days ago, I was walking through the city, headphones in, sun on my face, when I passed a woman yelling into her phone. Angry, exhausted. I caught one sentence. "You don't get to use me just because we share DNA." I smiled, not because it was funny, but because somewhere out there someone else was waking up, wiping the fog off the glass, seeing clearly for the first time. And I wanted to stop and say, good, let it go. Because family isn't blood. It's respect. It's mutuality. It's not what you're born into. It's what you choose to keep. And for the first time in my life, I've chosen myself. So no, I'm not coming back. I'm not fixing your mortgage, or your drama, or your pride. I'm not answering the group chat. I'm not bringing wine to the guilt-drenched dinners. I'm not doing Thanksgiving at a table where my name is a punchline. The spare key is still on your counter. And this time, I won't be picking it up.